Well, it's Gerald and Scott back with CanaGlobal.
That was good to see you again.
Good to see you again. And today we're talking about ideation. Now, can you say, we went online and I said, let's make sure we're pronouncing ideation, something we say all the time. And can you say it like the phone said it? It was more about...
No, I don't want to say it like the phone said. Have you ever done that? I've done that too. It's like where you get words and you just pronounce them wrong all the time and you realize, oh, I didn't say it the right way. Anyway.
Well, and, you know, when we're around the center and we're bringing people in, if we say something wrong, you know, who cares? We could say, well, I never said it that way. They have a bad memory. But as soon as you get on video, this thing's never going away.
Right. Yeah. So we got to make sure we say it right.
So we're going to talk about ideation today. And,
Great.
And it's a process that we go through with somebody who's getting ready to start a company, somebody brand new.
Right.
It's also the same process that we go through with a turnaround. Mm-hmm. So a company that may have been around for 10 years, may have enjoyed wonderful revenue, and revenue went flat, and it's the place that we start with, ideation. So I want to talk about this process. And so let's start from the framework of somebody who's brand new. They come to us, they have this wonderful idea.
Okay, which we've had. We've had people come in, it's like, I got a great idea, and they come in. Okay.
And so what we're doing is we're vetting the idea to see if it has financial legs, marketability legs, and we're just, you know, we're listening to it, we're gonna test a few things. And so, you know, one of the first things that I might do is, you know, I wanna hear their idea. If I don't understand it, if they have to go on for 3 hours and we're still not getting it, maybe not so much, right?
Right. They don't know what they're talking about yet.
You know, and
they haven't quite. They're still up here like that, just trying to figure out what they want to do.
And they haven't taken the time to really break down the idea.
No.
If it's taken them that long. If they have an idea, great idea on pricing. Let's get to pricing, and they say, you know, in the last episode, the first podcast we did was life plan, and that's kind of stage one for us, and then stage two is ideation. In stage one of life plan, what we're figuring out is what do they want to happen personally and in their company 5 years from today, and where does the revenue need to be and why? What's the cost of the journey, all this kind of stuff. Let's say that for their plan to work, they've got to be making X amount of dollars year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. And they come to us with this idea, and it's a great idea, and they're going to charge, I'm just going to be, you know, ridiculous here, they're going to charge 10 cents for each sale. So we would sit there and go, okay, well, how many of these, boy, for you to hit your number in income and personal income and revenue for the company, you're going to have to sell like 1 billion of these. Right. So in ideation, we would go, that doesn't add up.
So we really kind of analyze everything. All aspects of it.
We're looking at, and so why do we do ideation? Well, we do it because it's very rare that the original idea as is the one that we go with. And usually when we go through the process, through the lens of ideation, which is really looking at what's the big problem that we're out to solve, and do we really have this unique value proposition or unique sales proposal or positioning that gives us this unfair competitive advantage. Okay, so that's some of the process that we're looking for. Now let's shift it over to, you know, we were talking about the company that's just starting, and we're going to vet the idea, and we're going to take time to vet it before it goes to the marketplace, because, you know, and it's extreme vetting. We'd rather do it now than after you go to market and you've launched, and it's a real painful experience.
Well, see, and I mean, our daughter works up in San Jose, Silicon Valley, and of course, you know, with the millennials, everybody's got a new idea, and so they come in with these ideas, and they're, hey, I'm going to start a company, and so they come in with all these different things. And, And what's funny is that a lot of times they'll come in with ideas like, wow, nobody wants what you have, and so, and that's one of the things that we look at with ideation is being able to say, okay, you know, I'm glad that you're enjoying this. I'm glad that you're really passionate about this, but does anybody really want what you have? You know, that brings up a good point. I'm going to get my little magic box.
Okay. Now, Scott didn't like the idea of my magic
box.
Well,
it didn't balance. It doesn't balance
in here. He was like, who put this thing on our table? And I says, it's a prop.
Okay.
Let's say I have a really great, it's a really great idea.
Okay.
Okay, it literally is. I'm not joking. It's a great idea.
Okay.
And it's in here. But I don't have the strategy to get it in front of the people that need to see it.
Okay.
Do I have a bad idea?
No.
So I just didn't figure out how to get it out there.
Right.
So sometimes that's the problem. I have a great idea, but I don't have a great customer acquisition strategy. I don't have a great way to get it in front of people, and that's the problem. I still have a great idea, but I'm going to go broke unless I can get it out there. Okay. That was my setup for my first little.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's kind of like when you watch Shark Tank. It's like sometimes I just love watching Shark Tank, and these people come in with these amazing ideas, but they've got no way to market it.
Yeah, and if you're, it's like with talent, with like musicians, there's a lot of wonderful musicians.
Oh yeah.
And in Los Angeles, you could find them on a lot of corners. But unless they figure out a way to get it out there, or there might be a great restaurant with a wonderful chef, but they're going broke because they couldn't get any customers.
Right.
Okay, so you have to have the right idea, and then you have to have the great customer acquisition strategy. So in ideation, we're evaluating that. Okay, now I want to take us into the companies that are, they're stuck. So let's take a pretend company, they've been around 10 years. And for 10 years they've done very well. They've paid their price. Okay. They've had the battle in the early days. The CEO of that company, he's enjoyed the rewards of 10 years. It's bought him the ability to really take good care of his employees, which are one of his greatest.
He's almost always the founder.
Yeah, he's the founder.
Yeah.
Let's think, so he's making more money now. He's maybe he's bought the house for his family that he always wanted. Right. He might have paid for a few college educations along the way. He has the ability, he's got some kids, had the ability to do that. He's even maybe bought a few things that he didn't really need, but he's always wanted. This is when you take a risk and you get the rewards and you fight that battle, you get. So we're talking about the guy or gal that's done that.
Right. Okay.
Now all of a sudden, they have a bad month in revenue. So yeah, it's kind of he's not too shook up.
It's happened before.
It's happened before.
We've ridden some storms out. Yeah.
He tells the employees, okay, I'm not shook up with this. But we're better than this. It's just like the winning team that goes and they get slaughtered in a game, and the coach it's kind of we're better than this. We don't necessarily want this to happen again,
right.
But let's not, we're not going to
give them the pep talk.
Yeah, we're not going to fall apart either.
No.
Okay.
Sure.
And then it happens again. And then, Scott, it happens again. And then again. And then again. That CEO inside of him, he's going, something ain't right.
Right.
And, well, Gerald, that's not very, at this point inside, he's not even using correct grammar. He's saying something ain't right.
Yeah.
And it happens too many more times. And now he goes and tells his team, hey, we can't continue to operate this way. He starts to scare the molasses out of them.
So he's heads are going to roll kind of thing.
He's put everybody on notice that this is no longer acceptable, and we got a problem, and people go into panic mode. Okay.
Desperation.
Desperation. What do we say? There's 3 stages in life and in business. What are they?
Let me see. You're either, I'm going to get if I can get it right. I'm either in a crisis, coming out of a crisis, things are going okay, or I'm headed straight for a crisis. I don't even recognize it yet.
So everything's looking good, and I'm heading right for a crisis.
Yeah.
And see, this is interesting because, you don't see it coming when everything's going good. Okay, but one of the things that happens when, whether you're just starting a company or you have a company and sales have gone flat, and that's what we would call a turnaround, okay? People don't come to us unless there's some kind of problem at Cana. So when the company's coming to us and maybe they've been that successful company and they're a small business and everything was going great, but trouble cometh.
Right.
Okay? And when trouble comes, and the trouble with trouble is that it's inevitable. It's coming. So like you just said, you're in a crisis, you've just come out of a crisis, or everything's going great. Unbeknownst to you, you're heading straight for a crisis.
Well, and one of the things that you took, I like your idea, Gerald, with the technology. Technology changes so quickly, and so you really constantly have to be on your game.
Right.
Always looking for what's next, what's coming up, what do I need to change, what do I need to improve on. And the problem that you're describing with a lot of these guys is they've done that early in life, but they've kind of reached this point where it's like, man, we're looking good, I'm kind of on easy street, and they quit looking for what's the next thing coming around the corner, what's coming up.
Why change what's working, right?
Right, because technology it changes drastically. It's hard for us to keep up with it. It's like
so I
got rid of my jitterbug phone or whatever it is.
And the jitterbug phone is, we got a lot of young guys controlling things behind the cameras, and that's what, when we make a mistake, since we're both in our 50s, that's what, but we do have iPhones, but
yeah,
I guess we treat them like jitterbug phones sometimes. So what's interesting, when this warning light comes on, okay, and think about Sears, because this just happened where I think Sears just filed for bankruptcy. Right. Now, they've been in this stage for a long time, but like you said, there's two big things that happened. There was technology shifts, and as a result of the technology shifts, buyer journey changed.
Right, and they didn't recognize it.
They didn't and because they've had they're Sears. See, I've seen this happen with businesses that they've had I've seen it happen with churches and ministries and not-for-profits. It's very hard, when we were talking about the CEO who's in this company, they've been around 10, 20 years, or maybe even just 5 years, but they've just had rocket success. It's really hard to tell that guy or gal anything in the early stages.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
And what happens is, the more often they have these occurrences, the more open they are, and the more desperate they become for the answer. So let's talk about what ideation is.
Okay.
This is ideation. This
the
little
box.
The box, you didn't know it.
No.
You were trying
all
to
right,
kick
go ahead.
ideation right off the table.
I wasn't trying to. I was trying to balance it all out here with everything else.
And I've messed you up. But here's what's inside. If we open up ideation, we have
innovation.
Couldn't I get a better prop? This is all, I only had the idea before we, 2 minutes before.
Yeah, but I like that word. I love innovation.
Innovation.
Right.
And the reason why I want to point this out is because instead of seeing the problem, you've got to understand, no, there's an innovation. And one of the things that we do at Cana, we're a faith-based organization, so we kind of look at two sides to this. We go, there's a spiritual aspect to this.
Right.
Okay, when God allows trouble in our life, and in the last 16 years doing turnarounds, every time I see a problem company come to me, I know it's an opportunity for that CEO to grow spiritually and then connect the dots between what God's going to show him and the wisdom that God's him or her, and connect the dots into business, purpose, success. They're all these dots are going to get connected.
That's right.
But we were talking earlier when we were preparing for this segment, there's something spiritual and then there's something practical that happens. Spiritually, if they're open, they're going to get this innovation from God. They're going to get this new idea from God.
Right.
In
I love
the
practical,
practical,
I
go
always
ahead.
quote it for you. The one that's like, he confides in those who fear him.
Yeah.
Really, he confides in those. It's like it really literally means he tells secrets to those that are close to him, that have that deep relationship with him. I mean, that's my paraphrase, but that's really what it means. It's like he's willing to give you the wisdom that you need.
Let's say, Scott, that I've got this. I'm running this company. It's cutting edge technology.
Okay.
Maybe it's, we're in the cloud, software as a service, something like that. And we run into a problem. Is there any way possible that God knows more about this business and industry than I do?
Let me see. Yes.
See,
yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll have a CEO, or it might be somebody that's coming to us that's getting into the, they're going to do a startup, and we start talking about this God stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had somebody tell me this not too long ago. When are we going to get to like the business part of it? And and it's so easy to forget that, you know what? The God that created everything,
right?
I think he knows a little bit more than you. And God has humbled me so many times. Mm-hmm. When I thought I knew. He's given me an innovation, a new idea, almost always through trouble. Mm-hmm. Trouble is the driveway for a new innovation.
Absolutely it is.
And the innovation leads to acceleration. Mm-hmm. And when you have acceleration, it hits revenue. This is what happened. So what we have to do is when this trouble comes in, we have to see it as an opportunity through innovation. So where do we start with it? There's two lines of questioning that we start with, whether you're a startup or whether you're a turnaround.
Okay.
Okay. What we do is we stop, we take a pause, and we look at and we say, what's the big problem that we're out to solve? Mm-hmm. Okay. And how is this problem epidemic? Now, when I use the word epidemic, if we use it in a medical sense, what does that mean?
It's all over the place. It's like you can't go anywhere without running into whatever that disease is.
So if there's a breakout of something and it's affecting some small corner of the world, and that corner of the world way over there, do we really care about that thing?
No.
But if it's epidemic, it's coming right into our backyard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when we're looking at this industry problem that we're out to solve, whether you're a brand new business and you think you have the best idea that's going to change, it's going to solve the problem, or you're Sears and you've been operating, and now we sit and go, okay, well, what's the problem that's out there that you're trying to solve? And they're saying, well, it's people want to have a place to go buy from, and we've got these beautiful catalogs that
yeah, not many of that. So Gerald, it's kind of like what we talk about. We've talked about it just in our meetings at church, or meetings with Bible studies, just meetings with people, individuals that we're talking to. It's so many people, when they run into these things, they're either going to operate out of fear or faith.
Right.
And even people that are startups, they're going to operate out of fear, out of faith.
Totally.
You start questioning their idea. What are they going to do? They're going to either latch onto it and grab hold of it tighter, and so they're going to operate out of fear, or they're going to operate out of faith and listen to whatever it is that you've got to say and go,
that's good.
Wow, how can I adapt? How can I take this? How can I take the beginning idea that I have and develop it into something that's really going to create revenue, that's really going to solve the problem? The turnaround is the same kind of thing. In fact, turnarounds, I think, really even more so operate out of fear. Yeah. So what do? They see these things coming. Instead of taking the emotion out of it and saying, okay, let me analyze the problem. Let me see what my situation is.
Right.
What can I do? What do? They operate out of fear.
What is that, Scott, what is that CEO who's had really paid the price to build that company? What is he or she afraid of? When
losing the whole thing. I mean, for me, it's like I would be afraid of losing the whole thing.
And what if they say, I already fought that battle. I don't want to fight it again.
Right. And we can stomp our feet and all that kind of thing, but it doesn't change the problem.
It doesn't change the. So when you're running a company, you're at war. And if you don't see yourself at war, because there's a lot of people that want to take you down, and there's better ideas, and there's technology shifts, and buyer journey changes, and if you're not staying at the forefront through innovation, you get left behind.
Right.
So a lot of people forget, and when you're on mountaintop celebrating or enjoying this wonderful lifestyle, you forget about that.
Right.
But whether you like it or not, you're at war, you're in battle, and it's here, and now you have to go through it again.
Well, and I love what you just said. It's like now instead of looking at it as a problem, it really can be turned into an opportunity. I gave you the quote this morning. I love this. It's like, we all talk about David and Goliath.
Ooh,
and okay, so Goliath speaks these words to Israel. Saul operated out of fear and defeat. David got motivated. So it's like, the Goliath is out there. Whatever.
So those words that were meant to destroy
brought life to David.
Brought life.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do this thing. And so we're really trying to breathe life into people so that they see themselves more as David rather than Saul, who was defeated.
What happens spiritually is for both the startup and the turnaround is that God allows, he's not the cause of it, but he allows a circumstance or trouble. Mm-hmm. And if we had a big dashboard in a company, and every time the trouble came and this big red light went off, trouble with revenue. But that light, instead of a fear thought, instead of it being a fearful thing, it would be, okay, guys, it's time to innovate. I'm going to give you the new idea that's going to take your company to the whole new level. Now, in the faith world, we hear this term from faith to faith. I'm growing from faith to faith.
Right.
You hear that all the time.
Right.
When people are saying they're going from faith to faith, what we're talking about is we're going from victory to victory. That's what we're talking about. I go from this victory to that victory. And in companies, we do the same thing. There is no victory without a what?
Battle. That's what I was going to throw in there. I was like, well, the only way to get a victory is you got to fight the battle. So it's one battle after another, but it's victory to victory. And each one is going to be even a greater victory than the previous one.
So, at Cana, we're a faith-based entrepreneur accelerator. And we also have a church called Crossroad. And on Wednesday nights, between the two, we have something called LabTox.
We love LabTox. That's a blast.
And it's done in this building, and it's another section of this building, and we have a meal, and then you and I, in a different setting, we discuss something that in church that we talked about on Sunday, and on Wednesday we're talking about. And it's a two-way conversation.
Right.
This last Wednesday, you took us on the previous Sunday it was about having a seat on the throne.
Right.
And then Wednesday we broke it down.
Not the throne that the guys always think of.
No, not that. Although that's not a bad place. Some of the best ideas come there too.
Okay.
I'm glad. I wish you would have said that on Wednesday. That was good. That's good. And so, but you were talking about having a throne mentality versus a defeated mentality. Seeing things not from fear, but seeing things from faith.
Right.
And when these problems come in a company, that's how we have to see them. We really have to have a throne mentality and go, okay, whether you're starting a company and your idea is getting challenged, or you're an existing company and the marketplace is beating the pants off your original idea. And so what we do is we stop, we take a pause, even though we don't want to, and we look at what's the big problem in the marketplace.
So we're taking the emotion out of it and just dealing with the issue.
And we're looking at it from an opportunity standpoint. Because I can tell you, from the very experienced CEO who has all the success and all the trappings of that, and they have a way of thinking. And at this point, when it stops working, it's baggage thinking. And it's like a cancer that has been spread through every single one of the cogs in the sales and marketing funnel. It's everywhere. And there's turfs and egos and territories.
Oh yeah.
And nobody wants new thinking. No. But the way to get the innovation...
It's uncomfortable to have to do new thinking.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a challenge.
It really is. And we're going to go to the whiteboard for a second. And if we walk over here to the whiteboard, we have the new company and we have the turnaround company. So this one's been around, this one's just getting started. And we say in each one, there's a spiritual component, that's the S, and we have a practical component.
Right.
From the spiritual component, we get innovation. See, most people don't know this. All great ideas and all creative ideas come from God. And that's why you hear some of the greatest companies, they go, where did you get your idea? And I've learned that in my life. When we're doing a turnaround and a company's stuck, these ideas to fix the companies, they're not coming from me. They're coming from God. I'm sitting there going, okay, God, here's the problems. Here's, how do we fix this thing?
And you're really spending a lot of time in the Word and in prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Really seeking after Him. It's like, Lord, this is, because there's people's lives that are at stake.
They're absolutely, and I can't count the times that after I've been at their office and I'm going to the hotel room at nighttime and we're stuck and we've been trying to turn this thing around, and I'm out on this walk, and I call my wife and says, hi, honey, how did it go? Oh, it's really tough. We're getting beat up today. Because when we're trying to turn the company around, bombs are still exploding.
Right.
And the shrapnel is hitting everyone and everywhere. See, that part doesn't stop. And I'm going for this long prayer walk, and I'm pleading to God, Lord, you know the answer. You've got to share it with me. This is the spiritual. It hits innovation, and it goes to the practical. Scott, what does TDR stand for?
Teddy Roosevelt? No. It's think, do, and results.
It's think, do, results.
Our thinking causes what we do, which gives us the results that we're after.
So every company has a way of thinking, it produces a way of doing, and it produces a result.
Correct.
So at one time, your thinking was good because it produced great results. But then over a period of time, when the revenue goes flat, the results change. It's time for new thinking.
Right.
So that's what we're saying. That's what we're saying with ideation. It's a chance to pause. It's to look at the problem with new eyes, through the eyes of the technology shifts, and then also now the shift with the buyer journey. We may have wanted to sell a certain way, and we like our way of selling and marketing, but if the buyers don't want to buy that way because of a technology shift, we're going to go out of business.
Yeah, and too many of them turn around and say, well, the buyer just needs to change. Like, well, the reality is they have changed and they've left. They've left you.
They've left you. And have you ever heard a pastor say that?
Oh, absolutely.
We have to change. But here's the thing. The greatest gift is in this problem. If we're willing to re-examine through ideation, what's the big problem? How is it epidemic? How has technology shifted that has created a new buyer journey? And what do we have to do to get back in the game? That's where this innovation is. And it's locked in this box because it's not, if it just came and it said, I'm not a problem, I'm not flat revenue, I'm just innovation, it would be easier, but it's not how it comes packaged.
No, some people would still just say, oh, no, it's not. Because they stick their head in the sand. And I gave you the quote before. It's out of Proverbs. The Proverbs is an amazing book, and it really is a business book.
Yeah, it is.
And it says in there, Proverbs 25, it says, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter.
Oh, yeah.
It's the glory of kings, it's the glory of you and I to search it out. And it's like when we search out these problems, like with ideation, whether you're a new company or a turnaround, the glory is really in finding that solution, finding what it is, our unique value proposition, to be able to find that solution and then go for it. And it's like, man, that's a great feeling when you get that.
And your unique value proposition, if it's not an unfair competitive advantage, you're not at the front of the pack with innovation. You're in the back standing in line. So guys, ideation, it's a step that a lot of people want to skip. They want to skip it if they're brand new. Yeah. They want to skip it if they're in the turnaround. It's it's where we find our innovation. And where we find innovation, we find acceleration. Where we have acceleration, we have revenue acceleration. So thanks for being with us. Podcast number 2 for CanaGlobal.
We're having good time.
We'll see you next time.
Okay.